Welcome back to this video series working with scenario management in Visum and PTV Hub. My name is Anett Ehlert and I'll guide you through the various aspects of scenario management in our software. In the last part, I will show PTV Hub. So you will get a first overview about the functionality as of May 2025. So first, our scenario management project will be saved as a cloud model with scenarios. In order to do that, we have first to sign in. So here you have an access to the product main page with all this application. In this session, we focus on models. Here in the models list, I can see an overview of all models to which I have access to. These models are organized in workspaces, and users can get access to different workspaces. So more precisely, I see here models of workspaces of which I'm a member. As you can see, we have different workspaces. I have already created a workspace for this scenario management video series, which is currently empty. So we could, for example, invite other colleagues later to work with them together on this cloud model in this workspace. So now we will save the scenario management project as a cloud model. So here you can choose a subscription. Here you can choose the workspace. And here we can finally correct the name, the model name, and a working directory where it is locally saved. So there are requirements for saving a scenario management project as a cloud model. The scenario management project and all its components must be saved in Visum 2025. So that means not only the database must be converted, but also the files must be saved in Visum 2025. So what is actually uploaded is the base version, our scenarios, the modifications, procedure parameter sets, and any files under the folder shared data. So once this process is finished, we can see here in Visum the cloud model. So that is the base network, which corresponds to our base version. So for now, we close the base network and go back to the web GUI. So here in our workspace, we have now our cloud model with its 9 scenarios. We can also find the project log with all the changes that have been done so far. And we have here the chance we can delete a model with all its scenarios. We can open again the base network in the desktop application in Visum, or we can edit a model. So that means we can change its name or move it to another workspace. So first I'll show you the different components, and for that we go to the model page. So we see here again all the scenarios that are part of the cloud model. We have here the base network that corresponds to the base version. The history so far has only one entry, so we call that revision. And you also find here the different modifications and the different procedure parameter sets. So as we have seen, the result versions are not uploaded. So you can see here the state of the calculation, the column is empty. We can start the calculation and there is no access to the details page where you find information about the calculation. Also, the scenario indicators are uploaded, so you can find again here the list of scenarios and the different KPIs that we had already defined in the desktop scenario management project. So next, I will show you how to edit the different components. So in PTV Hub, you can edit the base version, modifications, and procedure parameters. So the base version can be opened via this icon here. So I will reopen the base network. So Visum opens and then you can start editing the network in the normal way. So for example, we could here create user-defined attributes for links. We will create one called has bike lane, an integer attribute, and then we can save it. And each time I save in Visum, I create a revision. We will see that later in the web GUI. You can here add a comment. And we could, for example, also now add links in the network, for example, here. We can set this attribute to true. Again, save the base network. And in the same way, we could continue to edit the network. For example, we do another change. We change, for example, here the speed. Maybe also for the opposite direction. Change again. And add a comment. And then we close the base version. Now here in the history, we can find the different changes. So each time we have saved the base network, a new revision is created. And you can see here the source of the revision that has been all done in the desktop. And now if you realize that you have made a change that you would not like to see, so maybe it was wrong, you can restore a previous revision and make that the latest revision of the base network. So that means any changes in this revision are ignored. And this is now the base network that counts for the scenarios. So the base network could be calculated, but this is typically not useful if there are scenarios that you would like to calculate later. So scenarios can also be opened in the desktop app. However, editing scenarios is not possible. So if you save here, you get an error because it works in the same way as the desktop scenario management. Scenarios are composed of base network, modification, and procedure parameter sets. So you can edit a scenario in a way that you can change its name. You can allocate modifications here or procedure parameter sets and confirm that, and in that way compose the scenarios of different components. In this list, you can also delete scenarios. I would like to do that for the 3 scenarios where we have used procedure variables. This is not yet supported, and therefore I will delete these scenarios and continue with the remaining 6 scenarios. Next, we would like to edit a modification. You can open existing modifications here and edit them in Visum, as I was showing you for the base network. You can also create new modifications here. So let's assume we have one modification, roadwork. In a certain street in Halle. Here again, as in the desktop scenario management, you can select dependencies or exclusions. For our case, this will not apply. I can create the modification and then I can open the modification in Visum in order to edit it. So for example, there are roadworks planned for some links here. And because of that, I will change the number of lanes to 1 and also change the capacity. So, and then I can save the modification and close Visum. Now using this modification, I can create an additional scenario. So let's assume this is still for this year. As I said, you can select the new modification and also procedure parameter set. So in this case, we choose the one with the private transport assignment only. So finally, to complete that, procedure parameter sets can be edited in the same way. You can find here a button to open them in the desktop application, and then you can edit them in Visum in the normal way. So now we are actually ready to calculate the scenario, but before I do so, I would also like to show you how you can create additional scenario indicators in Hub. So in Hub, that works a bit different. You need to create these KPIs in the base network. So that means we need to open the latest revision here in Visum. So there are actually 2 ways how you can define further KPIs. You can either create a user-defined attribute for networks. So let's, for example, choose mean walk time for an indicator for the public transport assignment. And then we can use a formula attribute where we can select a network attribute. So that is one way to do that. And there is an alternative way, which I would like to suggest, it's slightly easier. You can essentially create alias. So as you can see here, for the 6 KPIs that we already had in the desktop scenario management project, there are already aliases. These are created when you save your scenario management project as cloud model. And in the same way, you could define further aliases. So let's choose here the mean wait time or transfer wait time. And then you can here create an alias. So, and these two new network attributes could be used as KPI in our cloud model for the scenarios. So again, we need to save the base network. We close the base network. We can see here our new revision. And under scenarios, you can now go to KPIs and change the settings. So you need only to make these KPIs visible. You can then, if you like, change units and decimal places if that is appropriate. So we are now ready to calculate our scenarios. You can switch on all the scenarios and start the calculation. So while the calculation is running, you can see under the list of all models here a running button where you get further information that these scenarios are now calculated. So for a single scenario, you can access the details page where you can see the status. And under log, you have access to the protocol file that you know from the Visum calculation. So, and once the calculations are finished, you will see first the state of the calculation. In our case, the scenarios are calculated, hopefully all successfully. And you can now see and compare the KPIs that are also calculated. And also in this list, you can see the state of the calculation, so you know that the calculation and also the KPIs are up to date. You can open the scenarios in Visum and inspect them using any files that in our desktop project were stored under shared data, because these files were also uploaded. So for example, we have here the volume capacity ratio displayed or some results from the public transport assignment. So as mentioned before, you can invite colleagues to the workspace so that you can work on the same model. Yes, collaboration is possible to some extent. So for example, different users can create and edit new modifications. Still, you need to make sure whether or not these modifications can be combined in a single scenario. And if two persons work on the same component, you still need to coordinate your work to not override the changes of the other person. So now let's assume your project is finished and you would like to store any data belonging to that project and archive it. So there's also the possibility to export the cloud model, and you can do that via this button here that enables the export of a cloud model and its scenarios. So this export basically creates back a desktop scenario management project in Visum. So it's like creating a new project. So the data are downloaded. So this might take a while because this also includes the result version of the calculations. They might be a bit bigger. So once that is finished, you have again a desktop scenario management project with the scenarios, modifications, and procedure parameter sets. This already also includes the result versions. So you can now close the project and then you have saved the data locally. So let's summarize the learnings from the last part. Here we have learned how you can bring your existing scenario management project to PTV Hub. We have seen how to create and edit scenarios and modifications in PTV Hub. We have seen how you can create additional KPIs for the scenarios in Hub. We have seen the benefit of cloud computation in Hub. And you have learned how to export a cloud model with scenarios back to a scenario management project in Visum. With this, the video series is finished. We hope that you find the information useful, and please let us know if you have questions or if you would like to give your feedback. Bye.